Grüß, willkommen in einem Video. Welcome to another exciting video, in this case episode 21 of my game design series of videos. In this video I'll provide a brief overview of space warfare figure gaming rules and to a lesser extent board gaming rules. This video is based on another video I've created for my science fiction channel. I'll provide a link to that channel for those interested in the notes. This channel, that's the science fiction channel, currently only has videos on Star Trek on it, but this will expand out to other science fiction topics. I originally, and I mean quite a few years ago, I think from memory prior to 2018, I placed all my sci-fi videos in my main gaming site or channel, which is this channel, but decided to split it off into its own channel as I found the overlap between viewers was minimal. The channel I created back in 2019, 2020 contained videos on Star Trek specifically, that was the main topic, and anime. But I made the error of disconnecting my phone associated with the account, and as a result I lost control of my own account. A lesson to be learned: if you decide to disconnect a mobile phone number, check that it's not linked to anything, particularly YouTube channels. In my case, it was caused by my moving between countries so much, but it could happen to anyone. My current Sci-Fi channel I recreated in 2024, but as I was forced to reload all my old videos on it, I decided to upgrade the videos, add the animated series content, and improve the audio. So in some ways I'm not too worried about losing my old channel, although I must admit it had a lot more subscribers than my new channel. While I do have videos on the wars which are described in the original series Star Trek scripts, most of the Sci-Fi channel that I have is non-military. I'm considering converting the various videos on the wars of the Star Trek universe into a more suitable format for this channel, Wargaming channel, in case I want to create figure gaming or board gaming scenarios. In this video I'll be mainly focusing on figure gaming and board gaming and any required crossover that makes sense. Most of the board games that I'll describe could easily be converted into figure gaming format, and let's be honest, most of the figure gaming rules actually have a very board gaming feel anyway. It just is the way it is. It's like naval wargaming. You do have to actually bring in some board gaming concepts. Anyway, enough of the overview and description. Let's start with the actual science fiction spacecraft figures that you may consider using. Once I decided to search on the web for spacecraft figures, I found a good range of Star Trek and generic science fiction figures. This shows some Federation plastic figures on bases, which look reasonable, quite reasonable indeed. This shows the Klingon spacecraft, also plastic on bases. I suspect for Star Wars or Star Trek, a major issue is licensing, but there are some reasonable generic figures available for gamers. Let's drill down into some of the figure manufacturers, starting with Studio Bergstrom. Incidentally, the original series Star Trek figures seem to be easier to find than the latter Star Trek figures, but that's just my initial observation. Let's drill down into the figures from this particular company. The quality of the spacecraft on Studio Bergstrom does vary a lot, but this shows spacecraft from several different franchises, such as Star Trek, Babylon 5, and even Star Wars. The Starfleet store has a reasonable range of spacecraft as well. This shows a range of Romulan spacecraft, which does a good job catering to the original series space battles, if that's your thing. This continues the Starfleet games sites or range, and it contains some interesting, more modern Star Wars or Star Trek figures as well. These actually are quite nice figures. Enough of the figures. I'm sure if you went on the internet you could find an even bigger range of figures covering all sorts of different franchises. Let's now drill back or come back to the original point of the video, and let's look at some of the rules that are available. There's lots of different scales you can consider. The first type of games you could consider is refighting the space battles. I found a plethora of rules which cover these type of battles, which are mainly focused on slugging it out type of gaming. Let's look at some of these particular rules which allow you to reproduce a single battle. The initial rules I'll be covering is Starfleet Battles from 1979. Initial publication of the games in the Starfleet Battle series varied quite a bit from the versions that are available today. This was one of the first Task Force game pocket games. It was re-implemented, expanded several times after the original pocket game came out. This is the classic game of tactical starship combat set in the Star Trek universe. That is the original TV show, although you'll never see Star Trek anywhere in the game. Licensing limitation, clearly. Players command one or more ships from the Federation, Klingon, Gorn, Romulan or Kazin fleets. That's an animated series alien race, sporting all of the expected Star Trek weaponry like phasers, disrupt bolts, photons and plasma torpedoes, and of course tractor beams. Also included other weaponry not commonly seen, such as drones or homing missiles. Basically, with these rules, players allocate energy and plot movement before each turn, then move all the ships simultaneously. Weapons are fired at will during the turn, that is, not plotted beforehand like movement. Ships have shields and armour for protection. When these are breached, various ship systems are damaged, potentially crippling the combat capability of the ship and eventually resulting in ship destruction. Let's look at a slightly later version or later set of rules, Full Thrust, which came out originally in 1994. Full Thrust is another rather old set of rules which have gone through many revisions and updates, which seems to be a common thing with a lot of these space warfare rules. They are simple, focused on ships slugging out with each other, and are available as a free set of rules with the link shown in the screen that you see here now. Full Thrust has been around for ages and ages and is now free online and can be found at Ground Zero Games. However, it goes through a bunch of revisions from the core book through to the fleet books, and there are other versions as well. So when you get a set of rules, you may find that you need to verify the version of rules if you want to play another player, because they do vary quite a bit. Personally, I have seen a number of full thrust games in my journeys around the world. This set of figures are designed to reproduce the Deep Space Nine battles. So my gut feeling at this particular scale, these rules probably seem to be the most commonly used, at least from my observation anyway, which is a highly subjective comment, I must admit. Moving onwards, we move to Star Matter Fleet Ops, which came out in 2009. Star Matter is a latter set of rules with different mechanics and more modern mechanics. I'm uncertain when the first version was published, but Fleet Ops was published in 2009 and allows for fleet operations. Star Matter Fleet Ops does allow you to fight larger battles than the previous set of rules that we've covered, and to allow you to do that, it has very fast playing mechanics and streamlined rules. In addition to adapting every current starship and weapon design option from the Admiralty Edition Fleet Ops, or an Admiralty Edition set of rules, Fleet Ops, which appears to be a later version, introduced several new concepts to Star Matter, such as command ships, escorts, and fleet morale. The game includes rules for building fleet-scale starships from scratch, as well as guidelines for converting your favourite Star Matter designs. Star Matter Fleet Ops is a standalone game, enjoyable on its own, or as a complement to existing Admiralty Edition fleets. So clearly this is a latter version. There must be a version of Star Matter which basically allows you to fight smaller scale engagements, which look like they are Admiralty Edition fleets perhaps. So raise shields, charge primary weapons, and scramble fighters. Your destiny awaits. Generically outlandish Big Space Fleet set of rules, which came out in 2009, at least that's what I'm aware of, shortened to GOBS, is designed to fill the high-level category. It's not very granular in terms of how each ship is controlled. It's basically move into range and shoot, but the ships have different classes and capabilities selected by the player, and there is some limited damage tracking. Basically, GOBS only provides you what an admiral would know about his forces and would allow you to command at that level. You go here and attack that and don't get blown up. Drat it, she's got blown up, etc. So it's a reasonably high-scale set of rules which allow you to command quite a few spacecraft per side. As you can see, there are many rules which cater for the refighting of space battles. Upon looking at the rules, my only thought is a set of rules which focuses more on movement coupled with simple combat systems may offer some additional benefits, and I do possibly have an example. Basically, what I think may be a bit missing is that you should consider basically operating your fleets on a 3D playing area divided into squares or hexes, with each squares basically occupied by a ship. Each ship has an X, Y, Z momentum, with players allocating energy to change momentum, deploy shields, and fire phasers, or lasers, with photon torpedoes not requiring energy but having low accuracy, greater range, and limited number in each ship. Players move ships in one of different movement directions based on the overall momentum, with the ability to fire at any point in their movement. But apart from this, I suspect this area is comparatively well catered for in the figure gaming area. Let's quickly move on and look at the board gaming area to look at some set of rules which basically provide what I've just described. The old SPI Battlefield Mars board game is a good example of this type of gaming, the type that I've just described, which in some ways is more tactical and rather interesting. In this game, we're dealing with combat in our own solar system between the Earth and its colonies using lasers and kinetic weapons. There are no shields here, and movement is dealt with in a very realistic manner, as I've just described. When moving between planets, you even need to consider the orbits of the planets, so that's how detailed it is, which, for small actions would make for a very interesting set of rules. There are a wide range of scenarios for these set of rules, and actually the gamer's notes, or the scenario description, is actually a good read, quite frankly. Let's now move to a different scale. The next type of game would be a strategic game, allowing players to refight one of the three entire major conflicts between various forces in the Star Trek universe, for example, or even maybe battles in the Star Wars universe. In the Star Trek universe, the battles that I would probably, or campaigns I'd probably focus on, is the United Earth versus Romulans, which is the big ones, the Klingon versus Romulans, which would have probably been a fairly minor affair, and the Klingon versus Federation conflicts, which were somewhere in between, with an optional game allowing you to refight the later Federation Klingon wars, and even if you go to the animated series, the United Earth Kazin wars. This type of game would highlight logistics issues as well as understanding the objectives of both sides in each conflict. The actual battles would consist of stacks of ship counters or figures which represent your fleet, meeting fleet, and then when they meet, you then implement a simple combat system which allows you to determine the victor and losses. You could have diplomacy in such a game, as each side tries to get non-aligned planets to join them. The old SPI Star Force Alpha Centauri is a good example of this type of game, although it does allow for tactical space combat using a special tactical playing area, if you so desire. In this game, there are a host of scenarios covering Earth colony revolts, alien nations, and even Xenos who want to exterminate everyone. The actual scenario notes are also a great read. There are optional rules in various magazines which allow players to have civilization type of games, diplomacy, production, colonization, etc. The final type of game is the generic grand strategy game, probably displaying the area around all the various players and having a random deployment and race attribute system. All players then grow their empires using their unique advantages or disadvantages as required or forced. I feel this would make for a very good multiplayer game. The classic example of this style of game is the old SPI board game Outreach, which in its basic form allows you to game or play in about a third of our existing galaxy. Each game turn is generational in length from memory, and each hex 1,000 light years in size. This is an epic game. There are even maps which cover the entire galaxy shown on the left here, although these maps use a different scale. But in theory, this game would allow you to play Asmos Foundation Wars or Warhammer strategic games, and I think offers some interesting concepts. On the other hand, I'm not sure if figures would work so well with this sort of scale. I think with the figures you're really looking at tactical games rather than grand strategy games. Moving back to the figure gaming world, the old Federation and Empire may be a board game which would allow you to satisfy both these type of games. This sprawling Empire game is set in the Starfleet universe. Players command one or more races in a variety of scenarios as they replay the historical situations in the galactic politics of the future. And as you can see on the left, you can use figures in this particular set of rules. This particular game is the basic set for the Federation Empire series of products. The Starfleet Universe series is based on the game Starfleet Battles, and Federation Empire is a strategic game based in that background. Federation Empire is a standalone game, and Starfleet Battles is not required or needed to play this game. The two games are closely related, and Starfleet Battles can be used to resolve some or all of the tactical battles of Federation Empire, and Federation Empire can be used as a campaign system for Starfleet Battles. The original version came out in 1986 and was published by Task Force Games. This was followed in 1990 with the Deluxe version, which replaced the original release. Deluxe was indicated on the front of the box to indicate it was the new version. The Deluxe version included a revised rulebook, more counter sheets, and other player aids such as the battle board and player boards. At the moment, this ends my current video on rules which may be suitable for gamers to battle it away in space. I'll probably come back and add new rules as I discover new sets of rules when I decide to maybe investigate this in more detail. Space combat using figures was not normally my thing in the past. However, I must admit I'm thinking about this area more and more and may well give it a go one day. I suspect initially I would be more interested in combats between a small number of spacecraft per side rather than the grand strategy. On the other hand, in the board gaming world, the grand strategy games can be very enjoyable, but and they definitely are my thing, but they're probably less a figure gaming set of rules or concept than battling it out with individual ships. And so we come to an end of my episode 21 of my game design series of videos, in this case discussing space-based figure gaming. The first URL that you see here at the top and in the notes is my Sci-Fi channel if you're interested. Live long and prosper.